So I absolutely hate Primo. I hate Proviron. I hate SHBG. I hate short esters, and I hate any type of injection frequency that isn't daily. Daily is the only way.
So welcome everyone to the TRT and Hormone Optimization channel. As you probably noticed, I am not Stephen Devos. I'm here with Dr. Todd Lee, and to get it out of the way, as far as I'm aware, we are not related. We could be, but as far as I'm aware, we're not. And I actually came across Todd's content about a month ago. Basically, every day I get a message from someone on Instagram saying, what is this guy like? Is this guy bullshit? And I saw this really awesome looking real cover photo. And I'm like, okay. And then I pop it open and I see a Slaughter to Prevail mask hanging in the background, a Punisher tattoo. And I'm like, fuck, I really hope this guy's not a moron because I really want to like him. And I ended up watching, I reckon, 12 hours of Todd's content over the last month. And for anyone who's wanting to learn anything, not just about anabolic steroids, but there's some great content on training, psychology, nutrition. There's a fantastic video about how much testosterone you should take, which echoes a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about on this channel for a long time. So I'm going to let Todd greet the Earthlings and tell us a bit about what got him to be here today.
Greeting Earthlings. So I'm Todd Lee, medical doctor, IFBB pro, biochemist, and I talk a lot of mad shit and put down dumbasses and try to educate people on how to use HRT and steroids as safely as possible, which is actually pretty safe if you do it the right way. And I've been doing this stuff for 15 years. And this channel hasn't been banned yet. The previous channel was in 2018. I sat out for like 4 years. Then my friend Paul Barnett talked me into making a new channel. And now we're back bigger and meaner than ever. So hopefully I won't hurt your feelings too bad. But you know what? If the truth hurts, wear it, right?
Absolutely. People need to hear what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And not that you'd agree to it anyway, but I definitely don't want you to speak with a filter today. I think people should hear it raw and true. So the first topic that I want to get into today, and one of the things I love about your content is that when you're talking about everything from testosterone replacement to anabolic steroids, you talk about daily dosing. You don't talk about weekly dosing. You talk about this much per day. And there's only one other person in the space who's a good friend of mine, Dr. Keith Nichols, who has a very firm belief that testosterone replacement therapy injections need to be done daily. And when people look at the half-life of testosterone, they go, oh, well, that's not needed. But when you look at the peak pharmacodynamics, it's very, very clear that it is. So I'd like you to firstly talk about why daily injections are best, and also why SHBG doesn't really have anything to do with why people should be injecting daily.
Yeah, everyone's working out these ridiculous beliefs that make no sense at all. SHBG is not your friend. It's your enemy, basically. It's a reservoir that hangs onto DHT. And so if you ever add in something that's a strong SHBG binder like Masteron, then the DHT is going to flood the system and it's going to cause hair shedding for a couple days. But a lot of people pussy out and they stop taking the Masteron. They tell everyone Masteron causes hair loss. That's really not what's going on. If you were to use daily injections of Cypionate, a long-acting one, then the levels are smooth. So you don't have peaks and troughs. You don't get the mood swings. Every single person that trusted me and took that advice and switched from twice a week injections or 3 times a week injections to daily injections said that every aspect of their life got better. They had less mood swings, that they're basically your DHT and estradiol will go down at the same dose, but your total testosterone will go up. And it's always so funny how these TRT clinics, they don't know shit. They're basically pushing this free testosterone nonsense that's not relevant at all, because the testosterone that's bound to albumin is just as biologically available as the testosterone that's free. It's just that the free testosterone is going to get chewed up and spit out faster. The albumin is going to protect the testosterone and chaperone it through your system, kind of like IGF binding protein 3 chaperones IGF through your system. The SHBG is just garbage. It just basically mops up the testosterone. It also forms a complex with estrogen, which binds to your prostate and then facilitates DHT, causing BPH. I have only found 2 people that advocate for SHBG, and I'm not going to say their names, but that's it. And they're basically in league with each other. Everyone else on the planet who knows what they're doing sees SHBG as a bad thing, at the very least, a neutral thing. And so by doing daily injections with Test Sip, you're going to wipe out the SHBG from your system. A lot of these guys, they use Proviron on cycle because all it does is mop up SHBG. That's all it's for. It's not anabolic. It doesn't survive inside the cytoplasm of the cell. As soon as DHT or Proviron enters the cell, it gets chewed up by 3 alpha HSD, which is an enzyme that protects basically it protects you from growing too much muscle. So the androgenic DHT would be extremely anabolic if it wasn't for 3 alpha HSD, but your body chews it up so that it can't actually bind to the androgen receptor in the cytosol, and it can't go to the nucleus and transcribe and translate the DNA into protein. The other steroid that gets chewed up like that is Proviron. It's complete garbage. It has no anabolic effect. The next worst steroid would be Primobolan. Primobolan is very vulnerable to 3 alpha HSD. That's why Primo is so weak. Before this Primo craze of 2021, everyone used to laugh about Primo because it was basically you needed to use 800, 900 a week to see any results. And it'd be paying an enormous amount of money and shooting a whole bottle a week. It's just garbage. But now it's so popular. It's fucking weird. It's like how sometimes there's these rap artists that have like no talent or ability. They're just really popular because they were marketed well. Like there's who is that one Hernandez who had like rainbow colored hair and gold teeth? And he was basically a fake blood, and he was all over the place for like a couple Takeshi X9 or something like that. He's like the primo of the rap world. It's just like it was just all marketing and hype and has no actual substance. So I absolutely hate Primo. I hate Proviron. I hate SHBG. I hate short esters, and I hate any type of injection frequency that isn't daily. Daily is the only way. If I had like a religion or a cult, one of the core tenets would be not skipping leg day, and the other would be all injections must be daily.
It's interesting. Back when I was at university, I used to sell mobile phones back when you could actually remove the battery from the phone. And when people came in with a problem, the first thing we would ask them is, have you tried taking the battery out and putting the battery back in? Because most of the time that would fix the issue. And I liken that to increasing injection frequency. Fixing injection frequency won't solve, poor eating habits and alcoholism and morbid obesity. But when it comes to correcting the side effects that's caused from the hormone replacement therapy protocol, men do not do well with these exertions of hormone levels. They simply don't, it doesn't match our biology. And when we're looking at the idea that twice a week injections should be done, it's basically saying, well, yeah, that's not going to prevent you from falling through the therapeutic floor. Sure, okay. But if you're going up here and down here every few days, the male biology is not catered towards that. We're catered towards stability. And it's interesting when people talk about, and I've heard you shoot this down, and I love how you shoot down this idea that people should shoot prop daily because it will give you more of this fluctuation day to day. And that's nice if you read mechanistic theory and you've never actually practiced in the field. But when you actually do this and you work with patients all day, every day, we know that stability is the number one thing for getting the optimal outcomes from a hormone replacement therapy.
Right. So there's a fool out there who pretends to be a doctor and he's not. He says that you want to get spikes. You want to have the highest amplitude of change. And that might be true for causing androgen receptor signaling, but that doesn't mean androgen receptor signaling inside the cell causing nuclear transcription translation. It doesn't mean you're going to grow more muscle. It means you're going to get more DHT like side effects. Because what happens is what he's not accounting for, because he's not very smart and he's not educated, is that when you have these spikes, your body will create more 5 alpha reductase to deal with those spikes. You get more DHT response. And so the more DHT response means you're going to have more aggression or, in theory, penis sensitivity. But if your dick's already sensitive, it doesn't need to be more sensitive. That's how you get Minutemen. And it's like stuff like that. It's like, and he told me privately 3 years ago that the reason why he likes to use big doses twice a week is because he likes the way it makes him feel. So he's chasing a drug addict high, and then he's trying to retroactively put some type of pseudoscience bullshit to justify his drug seeking behavior. And so
One of the
that's where
things I
this
love
whole
that
theory started with. Yeah, I'm
one of
sorry.
the things I love that you bring up is, and for people who are listening to the conversation about steroids, one thing that Todd talks a lot about his channel is the idea that unless you are a professional bodybuilder, you shouldn't be using anabolic steroids. And one of the things that I see a lot, in coaching men and working with clinics where guys are coming and wanting everything from Proviron to Primobolan and everything else to hear about online, is that ultimately they're basically looking for drug-seeking behavior. They're looking for anabolics that will give them this kind of pseudo dopaminergic response that they're not really going to get, but that's what they're seeking. And it's something that I really like to shoot down from the get-go, because if we're looking at testosterone replacement therapy, we're basically correcting the foundational biology so that people can go out and live better lives and feel healthier and ultimately be better men in the world. We're not trying to get a recreational aphrodisiac porn star Superman feeling for a few hours when the testosterone's peaking. And I think a lot of people are chasing that, and they need a reality check that that's not what we're trying to achieve with this field of medicine.
Yeah, I mean, a bodybuilder's lifestyle is a monk's lifestyle. You have a regimented eating. You're just insanely disciplined. So you're an insanely disciplined Spartan. You're not a warrior. You don't hurt anybody, but you have the same level of discipline of a Spartan, and you have a very Spartan existence, if you use the adjective Spartan to mean that aesthetic, almost like a monk-like existence. And so only someone with that type of inner peace can be responsible to use, not abuse, performance enhancing drugs. It's kind of like in martial arts, probably like 1,000 years ago in China, before they taught you how to break a bone, you had to learn how to mend a broken bone. So you had to be able to undo any damage you do. We have this MMA culture where everyone learns how to fuck people up, but no one learns any spirituality to contain the rage and the damage you can do. So that's why all these MMA guys go to jail for beating their wives and stuff like that, is because you're teaching the wrong shit to the wrong people. So we see that now with the HRT community, where it's almost like an infection in HRT, where these idiots think that they're entitled to use anabolic steroids when they don't have the discipline or the intelligence or the education to properly use medicine. And their doctors are just as dumb, that they're just criminals in the United States giving out Anavar or Anadrol or Deca just because it's the only legal options, not because they're the cleanest options. And so you've got this whole wave of guys over 40 that think that these drugs are right, or you should be on them because they've been marketed by pieces of shit assholes who work for TRT clinics. None of the anabolic steroids are going to be better than testosterone for your health. So if your goal is to be healthy, which all of them say the same shit, I want to be healthy, I want to look like a bodybuilder, I just don't want to do what bodybuilders do. It's like, okay, so you want to be a millionaire, but you don't want to get a fucking job. It's bullshit. You can't look like a bodybuilder if you don't do what bodybuilders do. It's not the steroids that make us ideal physically. It's the discipline that goes into the training and the nutrition that makes us the ideal human. And then we look the part because we walk the walk. That you have to have a hard mind and a hard heart to have a hard body. So you've got all these soft-hearted, soft-brained fools who come in with soft bodies and they think they can just inject drugs and get hard. It's not how it works. And so it's not that and people are like, you shouldn't forbid people from using steroids. It's like, I'm not forbidding anybody. I'm just saying that it's pointless until you've mastered testosterone and growth hormone. You're still HRT. Once, and if your goal is to look like a human, you don't need more than testosterone and GH. Using anabolic steroids is for people who've already mastered being a perfect human, and now they want to be superhuman. They want to be beyond human. And so if you're not perfect, you can't benefit from using steroids yet. People will say, well, you could grow faster. It's like those studies were done on children. like 20-year-old kids who've never lifted before, and they just gave them steroids, and they said that they increased in muscle. They didn't increase in muscle. They increased in lean body mass. That the aldosterone hike that happened from the testosterone caused them to store more water. So lean body mass is just fat-free mass. It's not actual muscle tissue. Water counts as lean body mass. It's stupid, but it's true. So you give a bunch of 20-year-old kids and testosterone, and they gain more lean body mass than the group of kids who are natural and lifting. That doesn't mean that they gain more contractile protein. It means that they just hold more water. And the scientists are too fucking stupid to actually tell the difference between lean body mass and contractile protein. They didn't measure the strength gains. They didn't measure that. They didn't have guys get shot up on testosterone for a year and measure them after a year and no lifting to see what's their leg extension on day one, what's their leg extension on day 366 versus the group of kids that were natural training on day one versus day 366 to see, oh, even though they didn't gain as much weight, the kids who were lifting and didn't use steroids gained more strength. Basically, they gained more muscle mass than the group of kids that were using just steroids, because they would have had a 10-pound increase in 12 weeks and they would have stopped gaining water weight. But these studies are shit. They're always conducted in 12-week period. No one builds any fucking muscle in 12 weeks. All these studies, all these outcome studies specifically, are garbage. That the only studies that are really valuable on anabolic pharmacology are mechanistic data. And then you have to temper that with experience of actually treating patients and coaching athletes for stage. When you have the skill sets of a doctor and the skill set of a coach, and you have the chemistry background to be able to read mechanistic data and predict outcomes, that's when you're able to run huge experiments that are unofficial, because you're like, okay, all these people are coming to me on Primo from their shitty coaches, and they all have low estrogen. Okay, I'm going to switch their Primo milligram for Masteron, and their estrogen comes up. They gain more muscle. They feel better. They don't gain fat. They don't get gyno. So that means, by definition, after a 100, 200, 300 patients, Masteron's better than Primo. It's not like they're leaving me and going back to their shit coaches that were giving them Primo. And the same thing goes for the coaching aspect, is if people are competing and they're like, wow, I've never had a prep this easy. I've never used this little drugs, and I'm just as dry and just as hard. And I came in fuller using less drugs. It's like, right, because your coach is a fucking moron and he just threw drugs at you in a certain order. Like, oh, it's 6 weeks out, we got to add in Tren. Or, oh, we've been doing Clen for 2 weeks. Let's drop Clen for 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, put in Clen. It's all this rigmarole nonsense that's based off of bullshit people came up with 30 years ago. And it's none of it's based off of either outcome studies or mechanistic data. It's just uneducated bodybuilders that taught other uneducated bodybuilders. And it's just been handed down like an old wives' tale for 30 years. And then the HRT community is trained by TRT doctors that are hiring these uneducated bodybuilders to be salesmen. So they're like, okay, we need to put some muscle on. So you're going to have some MK677 so you can get hungry. Oh, you're too hungry? Let's give you some Ozempic so that you can control your hunger. It's like, you just take away the MK677. Don't add Ozempic to it. And that's how criminal these TRT clinics are. They're just throwing drugs at people. Sorry,
I'm glad we're going to take a moment. I'm glad we're going to take a moment to shit on TRT clinics, because just like how you have this fascinating combination of biochemistry with being an MD as well as being a professional bodybuilder. My degrees are in digital marketing and biomedical science, which I think uniquely qualifies me to shit on these clinics, because having a clinic in Australia and then over here in Eastern Europe as well, there's maybe one page of Google results for the entire Australia of TRT clinics. When I went to visit my friend Ali Gilbert in Florida, there was like 10 clinics within 5 kilometers of her house. And it blew my mind in terms of how these clinics are operating, when they look at a very minimalistic blood test, and then they basically sell you the fries and the Coke with your burger, in terms of, here's your testosterone, and then here's all the shit you don't need. And what they often do on these sales calls is they hijack the fear response, and they go, oh, well, if you don't take this, this is going to happen. And if you don't take AI, you're going to get gyno. And people get bamboozled, and they go, oh, and then they make the quick sell. And what I often teach people is that it's much more cost effective for these clinics to have 100 guys on 3 things than 300 guys on 1 thing, because you've got the economy of scale efficiency. So ultimately, when you go and see a lot of these clinics who only care about making money and don't actually care about people, they try to sell you as many things as possible. Whereas when you go to someone who knows what they're doing, when you're asking for all these things you don't need, they're going, no, 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 you don't need these.